We are now roughly 7 months away from the 2026 World Cup, which ain't that many full rotations around the moon. We're almost there. We're getting closer and closer, which means it becomes less difficult. It's still tough, but it becomes less difficult to project the World Cup roster. With that said, what will Mauricio Pochettino's US Men's National Team World Cup roster look like? Hello. If you're new here, I'm Filippo, and welcome to Tactical Manager TV. And welcome to another 2026 World Cup roster prediction video. We've done one or two of these already, and we're probably going to do one or two more because every time we have a camp and months go by, injuries happen, players perform poorly or they perform well. It kind of changes the projection. But as we get closer, the more accurate these videos will get. And of course, in this video, we're going to go with a 26-man roster because that's the official number for the next World Cup. That is the number of players right now that teams will be allowed to bring. However, there is a very strong possibility that they will expand it to a 30-man roster. So at the end of this video, me and Pete, yes, Pete from 11 Yanks will be the guest of this video. We're going to give you 4 players that will be added to this projected roster if it's expanded to 30. We shall know in the next few months. And yes, for this video, we will have to assume that every player is healthy. And we know that they won't all be healthy for the World Cup, unfortunately. But again, we have to assume they will. I also want to remind you that this is what Pochettino would do, not what I would do. So do not shoot the messenger if you don't like a pick here and there. And if you want to know the best tactics for the US Men's National Team, we did an entire video breaking that down, going through the phases of play, player selection, style of play, how we should approach games. Go check out that video if you haven't already. With that said, don't forget to drop a like in this video. Comment down below your 26-man roster. I dare you to do it. You're probably going to get more names wrong than myself. And also let me know throughout the video, what do you agree with me and Pete, and what do you disagree? Are we right about Pochettino? Are the players that we're mentioning accurate? Because we're trying to use data from what Pochettino has done so far and not what we think should be done. Once again, I won't be asking for you to hit the like button during the video, so do it right now. Let's play the intro, let's bring in Pete, and start the episode. Okay, everyone. By now, you probably watched the video on Pete's channel, 11 Yanks, where we have our roster for the World Cup. Right now, we're going to do Pochettino's roster for the World Cup, who we think he will bring. Obviously, we have to assume there are no injuries, right? There will be, but we just have to assume that. And this one thing I want to say before we start, Pete. They're talking about expanding the World Cup rosters to 30 players. We're going to do this video on 26 because that's the official number at the time it's recording. But at the end of this video, me and Pete will tell you 4 players that we think will make the roster if it's expanded. So it'll be essentially the roster we put out. We add 4. And we're not really going to have Pete's roster in mind. It's going to be kind of just one. Me and Pete are going to be just discussing, and we'll reach agreements of like who we think will be there. And you guys let us know in the comment section what you agree or disagree with. Pete, are you ready?
Yep, let's go.
Okay, I'm going to throw on screen a few times the previous roster because that can kind of help with names and people can understand what Pochettino's thinking. Obviously, a few guys were missing because of injury, but whoever he called up probably has a shot on making it to the World Cup. This roster on screen right now is the October one, the most recent one we had after recording this or before recording this. I'll put it back up soon. Let's start the goalkeeper. So for the World Cup, 26 or 30-man roster, it doesn't really make sense to bring more than 3 goalkeepers, right? And that's also the minimum that you have to bring. So let's assume he's going to bring 3. I think Netherlands brought 4 once. I think that happened for some reason. But let's assume 3. We can both agree that Matt Freese and Matt Turner are probably roster locks at this point. They're the 2 fighting for a starting spot, which is pretty sad for the U.S. national team.
Very sad.
That these are like the roster locks and these are fighting for the starters. I'm going to throw you this hot potato. Who's going to be number 3? Because last camp, you had Patrick Schulte and Chris Brady there. We've seen Zach Steffen get called in. We've seen even Cochin get called in that never played professional minutes. Who do you think is number 3?
Honest answer, I have no idea. And here's why. In the Gold Cup Schulte was the third keeper, but he got injured before the Gold Cup started and was replaced by Chris Brady. Then in August, he brought Roman Celentano as the third keeper. And then in September, he brought Roman Celentano and what's his name? The kid who's playing
Oh,
is it
Jonathan
Jonathan Klinsmann?
Klinsmann.
Jonathan Klinsmann. And neither of them came back for the September. No, I'm sorry, August. It was not August. September
September.
roster. He brought Klinsmann and Celentano.
They didn't come
And
back, so
then
they were cut.
they didn't come back in October. In October, he brought Brady as the third keeper. Actually, no, he brought Schulte, right? And
Here's
then Brady.
October. No, October was Matt Turner, Matt Freese, and Schulte and Brady. He brought 4 goalkeepers.
Four
That's how
goalkeepers.
undecided he is. He brought 4 goalkeepers to a 2-game camp.
Yeah. So I would say if I had to pick, it's going to be between Brady and Schulte. That's my guess right now. It's one of those two because those seem to be the ones he's calling up the most as the third keepers. I have a little bit of Chicago Fire bias. I also have a little bit of bias towards Chris Brady because A, he's younger, has been a professional goalkeeper as long as Schulte has. And Schulte actually was benched right before this camp in Columbus. He hasn't had the best of seasons. I'm going to say Chris Brady, but the truth is I really don't know. Like it would be one of Brady or Schulte. Is there a chance it's like an outlier like Stefan or Klinsmann or Diego Cochin?
I
Maybe.
wanna go back to one thing you said and try to use as much logic as possible towards what Pochettino would do. So I'm gonna go back to what you said. He brought in Patrick Schulte to the Gold Cup ahead of Brady. So clearly Schulte was ahead of Brady in Pochettino's eyes that moment because Schulte also was the goalkeeper in the Olympics, which by the way, he wasn't terrible, but wasn't good there either. But he was ahead of Brady, and it could have been just that based on the scouting report that was given to Pochettino. He's like, oh, let me call this guy in and check him out. So then he brought in Brady, and Brady has come back. Schulte wasn't there. In this camp, he brought both of them. So that means he's probably looking at those two and not really sure which one to bring. Brady's in better form right now. Brady wasn't in the picture and clearly got called back in, so he liked something with this player. If we try to use that logic, right now it favors Chris Brady. Ignore like Chicago bias, or even though I don't have a Chicago bias, I'm one of their biggest haters actually. I hate the fact that deep dish pizza is called pizza. I hate
I'm
the
with
fact,
you on that. I'm with you on that. It's not pizza.
yeah, it's like a lasagna. Um,
Yeah.
and I hate the fact that Berhalter's their coach. Besides that, I don't really have much hatred for them. Like it's actually an interesting city, and then I don't hate the franchise, even though I think they failed for far too long and they should have been punished for that.
Yep. Very good.
And man, the people from the Chicago are gonna hate me for all this. And just to make it clear, I don't hate deep dish pizza. I just don't think it's pizza. I actually like it. It's tasty. It's good.
I don't like it.
I
I
like
think
it.
it's too much cheese. It's like a lot of cheese.
You can never have too much cheese.
On a pizza, you can. Inches of cheese. If it exceeds an inch of cheese, it's too much cheese. It overpowers everything. But anyways, we're discussing keepers.
Yeah, soon enough we'll talk about Caesar salad again.
Oh my god.
um, I think that just using that logic, Chris Brady is ahead. So
But I'd
if we were
say
to
it's
predict,
marginal and it's a lot going to
yeah,
depend on form,
yeah, easily can change. So Matt Freeze from New York City FC, Matt Turner from New England Revolution, and Chris Brady from the Chicago Fire will be the 3 goalkeepers that we're predicting will be in the World Cup based on what Pochettino would do. Even though I think I would do the same right now.
Probably, yeah. If you saw my video, we both had Chris Brady as our third keeper.
Yeah. But that's just a coincidence, guys. We're not going with just like what we want. This is literally what we think. We're trying to use the Pochettino logic, and you are going to see it very
So
soon.
do
Actually,
we care that much who the third keeper is? Not really.
no, no. I hope we don't get to a point where we have to play a third goalkeeper.
No.
Now we should talk about fullbacks, and I want to talk about this previous camp because it's actually very important what I'm about to say. This previous camp, we had 3 fullbacks, and you can see here on screen Max Arston, the left back, left wing back from the Columbus Crew, or left winger, whatever you want to call him. We had also Anthony Robinson from Fulham, left back, and Alex Freeman from Orlando City. Now, mind you, Serginho Dest would have been there. That was pretty clear, but he wasn't fully fit. Pochettino let him stay with PSV. Why am I mentioning this previous camp? Because usually coaches bring four fullbacks, right? That's pretty common because then you have two backups, a backup for each one. And even though Serginho Dest was not available and you only had three fullbacks, Pochettino still left Joe Scally out, which leads me to believe that Scally is done under Pochettino. Like he won't play for the national team with Pochettino in charge. I even think that Arston and Freeman are worse options than Scally, and they were still there. And even with them there, there's technically an open spot, and Pochettino's still like, nah, I'll go with
And
these
in
guys.
September, he even brought Nathan Harriel over Joe Scally.
Yeah.
Nathan freaking Harriel.
Yes. And then this camp, we saw like Weah also play as a wingback. Brendan Aronson and Scally still wasn't there. So if we are to predict what Pochettino would do, not us, we should cut Scally right away. With
Yeah.
that said, Pete, I actually don't think it's very much debatable on who Pochettino will bring as the fullback options.
Just to be clear, they're not fullbacks anymore. They're
Wingbacks.
wingbacks. Because we're talking about this from a 3-4-2-1 formation, which is what we played for the last 3 games. It seems that's the way forward. And I like this I like this formation change. It's one of the things I really appreciate that Pochettino has done. So we're not just thinking about pure fullbacks, guys. We're thinking about wingback players in this formation, just to be clear.
Yes, that's actually something I probably should have brought up earlier. We're not playing the 4-2-3-1 anymore. That's not to say we can't, right? He might go back to that at some point, but it seems like the 3-4-2-1, where we play wing backs, and they're usually the ones providing the width, um, is how we're going, and that actually influences the roster construction.
Position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the fullbacks that I think he's going to bring, I'll just give it to you very quickly. If they're all healthy, I think right now it's pretty clear that it's Dest from PSV, Anthony Robinson from Fulham. Those are the two starters. And then Arston from the Columbus Crew and Alex Freeman from Orlando City that even played a little bit of center back last camp and played wing back. I think if we were to project with the data that we have right now, they are the clear front runners.
I'm going to throw Tim Weah in that mix because in this last camp, Weah only played wingback for
So
Pochettino.
five wing backs that you're saying.
I'm going to say Weah. He might not like so when they release the roster, he might not be listed as a wingback. He might be listed as a forward, but it seems like in a 3-4-2-1, there isn't room for Weah because Weah is really more of a pure winger in that sense. Although, as I said in the other video, for Lille, for Juve, and even for Marseille, he's played as a wingback many times. And I think that's actually the best position for Weah right now. But on either side, he's versatile. He can play on either side.
Yeah, so I was gonna have Weah later in the video regardless, but like I talked about before, we're gonna just build one roster, and I actually agree with you. He might be listed as a forward, but ultimately in the 3-4-2-1, there's no room for Weah as like the attacking mid. He can't play make. He's not a 10. There's no way he can play there. The other option would be playing up top. There's no evidence that Pochettino would do that. So I think it's more likely to see Weah playing wing back as a right wing back, left wing back. So let's go Dest, Anthony Robinson, Freeman, Arston, and Tim Weah as five fullbacks, which are actual wing backs in this case, even though Weah could play fullback as well if you need.
Yeah, he could.
Um, center backs. Center backs. Based on Pochettino's roster compositions, it's very likely that he will bring five center backs minimum, possibly six, but I think he's going to go with five because we talked about, right? Freeman played as a center back, and he can do that.
Yeah.
So probably five center backs. Do you have your list? Want to go first on this one?
Yeah. I've got Chris Richards, Tim Ream, Mark McKenzie, Miles Robinson, and Noah Kai Banks.
You think Noah Kai Banks will be called in by Pochettino?
I think if his season continues as it is, I think we'll learn a lot in November because he got his first start of the season right before camp. The roster was already out. He played well and scored a goal. And then after camp, he started again, played not as well. He had one or two slips here and there, but they seem to trust him now over in Augsburg. And Pochettino did have high praise for him when he called him into the roster in September and then didn't play him at all. So unless Pochettino saw something and was like, this guy's terrible, even though I said 3 days ago that he could be the best center back in Europe by the end of the season, proceeded to not play him at all, and then didn't call him in for this next camp. I hope that him playing regularly, which frankly it should be, if you're playing regularly in the Bundesliga, even if you're not playing perfectly, because by the way, Mark McKenzie not perfect in France, Chris Richards not perfect in the Premier League, right? Good,
Miles
generally
Robinson
good,
not perfect in MLS.
or for the national team. So, but I think Miles Robinson will be there. He does appear to like Miles no matter what he does. I think Robinson will be there, and I think Banks will be the 5th center back, especially if he continues to play well the rest of the season for Augsburg.
So
Those are the 5.
let's talk about this, bringing up the previous roster again. I actually agree with you, everything you said. I just want to add one context here. People might be saying, what about Cameron Carter-Vickers? He was called in this camp, and Miles was there, players there. Cameron Carter-Vickers got 0 minutes, and he wasn't
Yeah.
even tested before with under Pochettino as well. So in comments like when Pochettino says, just because you're playing in Europe, remember when he said that? It doesn't mean the league in Europe is better than MLS. I think there's a strong case to be made that he might have been talking about Scotland. And to be honest, he's not wrong if you only look at the Scottish league on its own, right? Without the
I
fact
think
that
both Rangers and Celtic would win MLS
would, and then
handily,
all other
but
teams are
everybody else would not.
no, all the other ones, I think a good amount of them might, well, they'll make the playoffs because almost everyone makes the playoffs, right? But the Scottish league is one of those leagues where just because you're playing there regularly, it doesn't mean jack crap. That's the
Yeah.
reality. And Cameron Carter-Vickers didn't get a single minute. And it doesn't really matter what I think, Pete thinks, or even you watching the video thinks. We're talking about what Pochettino thinks. And we're trying to use data from Pochettino. And Pochettino did not play Cameron Carter-Vickers, which means he very likely doesn't rate him right now. So now, one context to add to, Pete, I know Noah Kai Banks didn't play in that camp that you talked about, but apparently he was half fit. There was like a knock. That's just a little context to add. So maybe he would have played, right? And Noah Kai Banks, November
But
will
then
tell
why
a
not
lot.
call him in? But then why not call him in for October camp? That was more worrying to me.
Don't know. Don't know.
Yeah.
What I will say is if he doesn't call in Banks for the November roster, we would have to probably change this prediction when we update it around January, because then we're going to say we might want Banks there, but it doesn't look like Pochettino wants Banks there. So
No.
let's go with that Banks is rising. He was called in once, and we're also, maybe it's a bit of a prediction, a little bit of wishful thinking, but at the same time, Cameron Carter-Vickers didn't get any minutes, and then it goes back to who else is he really going to bring? Blackman?
Walker. He hasn't called Walker for a long time.
Doesn't seem like he rates Walker. He brought him in the Gold Cup and he barely played.
I don't
Barely
think he played
played.
a single minute. Did
He
he?
came in that game against Guatemala for the last like 5 minutes to help defend.
Yeah, and then hasn't called him since.
Hasn't called him up since. Other center back option that there really isn't. Trusty doesn't call him up.
Trusty. Yeah, there's not a lot of great options there, really. Once you
So
get past our best 3 or 4, which are in themselves not great, it gets bad.
So Chris Richards from Crystal Palace, Tim Ream from Charlotte FC, Mark McKenzie from Toulouse in France, Miles Robinson from Cincinnati, and Noah Kai Banks from Augsburg are the 5 center backs that we think he's going to bring. Moving on from the center backs, because we've done goalkeepers, we've done fullbacks, we've done center backs. And don't worry, everyone, when we're done with the video, I'll quickly recap every name super quick, even though you can pause and come back. Midfielders, I think, and it's interesting because we talked about this on yours when we're projecting our roster. I think he's going to bring 4 midfielders. It might be even more because now we don't really have wingers in the roster. With the 3-4-2-1, the 2 wingers are like 10s or attacking midfielders. They tuck inside like Pulisic did last camp, Malik Tillman. So this is a tricky one because I would put a total of 10 midfielders because that includes the wingers. Do we agree more or less on that?
Okay, so we're doing both the defensive midfielders and the attacking midfielders now. Both
Together.
in this.
Yeah, because
Okay.
after this, we're going to go to the center forwards after this.
I have 9. I don't know who my 10th would be.
You have 9, but you need an extra one to hit 26, right? So you just don't know.
I know. I just don't know who that last one's going to be yet. And I have ideas, but I can't say it's going to be this guy.
You have concepts of a plan. Concepts of an idea.
Concept of an idea.
Let's go. Why don't we start like this? Let's start with the defensive ones. more or less what we did. Tyler Adams from Bournemouth. I think, and then I'm going to say Johnny Cardoso from Atletico, and people are going to say he's never performed well for the national team, and he's injured very often. He's injured very often during U.S. camps because he played a lot of minutes last season for Real Betis, and he was playing for Atletico. He had a nasty ankle injury in practice when he got tackled. That's why he's been out. But ultimately, he'll be fine. And I just find it, and he was a starter for Atletico, and he's not a player with attitude issues. I just find it very difficult, even if he's not playing well for Pochettino, to leave an Atletico Madrid midfielder out of a U.S. roster for the World Cup. He might not play in the World Cup, but I find it hard to believe that he wouldn't make the roster.
I agree. And to be clear, Malik Tillman also never had a good game for the US until the Gold Cup when he got a run in a large, long camp where they got to be together for a full 5 weeks. So I think with Johnny, a player of his caliber, you have to allow for that possibility. And so if Poch brings him, I would agree. Johnny needs to be there. If he's playing for Atletico Madrid, it's not somebody we're not Argentina, we're not Brazil, we're not France. You bring him on the roster. There's no way you don't bring him. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I'll just add one thing. Even those teams, I'm not saying Johnny, but for example, for a long time, he was heavily criticized for the national, like Lautaro Martinez, where he balls out for Inter Milan, golden boot winner, whatever, like tremendous player for Inter Milan. But for Argentina, he would stink it up very often. He was bad, and he even got benched in the World Cup. But you keep bringing a player of that caliber. I'm not
Yeah.
saying he's like that level, but I mean, proportionally speaking to the US, he is that level, right? Proportionally speaking, what
I
Lautaro
think
is.
he's fighting Tanner Testament for a
Yeah,
spot next to Adams. I
yeah.
think that's going to be it. And then you let them compete in training leading up to the World Cup. And then maybe if he's not good enough, you don't start him. That's
Hmm.
fine. But he's in the roster. Like he has to be in the roster.
Yeah, because if it's not him, it's who else, right?
Exactly.
And just to be fair to everyone, Pochettino did call up Johnny to essentially every camp. It's
Yeah.
just that Johnny got injured. He was sick, and then he got injured during the Gold Cup. Then the last roster, he was called in, but he got injured. And then the other one, Diego Simeone apparently talked to Pochettino and asked him to keep Johnny as he was adjusting to it. So Pochettino has been calling up Johnny. It's just injury. So it's not what me and Pete think. Once again, using the data that we have, Johnny makes the roster. So Tyler, Johnny, Tessman, that was called in, played well against Ecuador, and Pochettino does seem to rate him.
Playing very well for Lyon, too.
McKennie, he was
So I have McKennie as listed as an attacking midfielder because that's where Poch has used him. Like I have him in the midfield group, but I don't have him in the defensive midfield group.
okay. So I'm going to say a name that people
Even
will
though
get
I
here.
think that's where he should play.
So Roldan.
Roldan is the fourth. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Christian Roldan is a lock for the World Cup, I think, guys, if he's healthy. And honestly, there's a chance he's injured. He might still bring him because it's always about eyes and vibes, right?
yeah, I mean, and don't shoot the messenger, everyone. I'm going to remind everyone again. We're saying what we think Pochettino will do, and based on the data we have on him, it looks like Roldan is a roster lock. Will he play in the World Cup? I don't know. I also wouldn't be surprised if he did play in the World Cup. But what are we going to say? Like Roldan, like it looks like Pochettino fell in love with Roldan. He literally said he's the perfect player. He can do everything. He's a great guy off the field, and he smiles. And then on top of all of that, this dude that has never played well for the national team dropped 2 assists against Australia. So we already questions like, I mean, Pochettino wants him here, even though this guy has never played well for the national team. And then he finally had a good game. This guy's a roster lock for the World
Yeah.
Cup as of now. So Adams, Johnny, Tessman, and Roldan are probably the four that are more like defensive midfielders, right?
Yeah.
After that, we have more of the attacking minded midfielders, which McKennie, as you mentioned, he played more advanced with Pochettino. So McKennie would be number 5. Pulisic is an attacking midfielder under Pochettino. That's 6. I think Zendejas makes the roster as of now. That's 7. And I'll talk about Zendejas in a second. It's because of his performance versus Japan and due to lack of options, which we're going to talk
Yeah.
about. Tillman will definitely make it. That's number 8. Diego Luna, which I don't think he deserves that much to be there. But again, lack of options, and Pochettino loves Luna because he has ginormous balls. They're so big, he should probably get them checked by a doctor. And I think Brendan Aronson will make the roster too,
Yeah.
because versatile, playing the Premier League. He's a guy that probably has that right attitude that the coaches usually like. And Brendan, he played him as a wingback last camp, played him as a midfielder. He knows he can count on. I don't hate Brendan Aronson being in the roster. And then we talk about players that were left out. They're gonna say, if not these guys, then who? Gio Reyna could be there. Gio Reyna, me and Pete would love to have Gio Reyna there, but guys, let's be real. As things stand right now, the odds of him making the roster are very slim. There's a lot of things that have to change. And the way he's been the past few months, I think him getting minutes for Gladbach still won't be enough to make the World Cup roster. He'll have to be playing decently well, not dominate, but doing something. Do you agree with that? Like, if he's just playing, I don't think he makes it.
No, I'll go even further. I'll say there's a chance he's playing well for Gladbach and he still doesn't make the roster.
Could be true.
Like,
Yeah.
if Scally is the measuring tape, right? It doesn't mean anything. You could be playing well for Gladbach, but if Poch doesn't like you, he doesn't like you, you're not going. Like that, if we're predicting Pochettino's roster. Now, if he's playing out of this world, playmaking, getting goals and assists, rescuing them from getting, relegated single-handedly, yes, I think he will be there. But I think if he has a 5-goal, 5-assist season, which is good but not great for Gladbach, I still don't think that makes him a roster lock for Pochettino. I think he would rather have Sebastian Berhalter at that point. That's my honest opinion of what Poch, not what I think, what Poch thinks.
Yeah, and I mean the information we have out there right now backs that. You guys can disagree with us in the comment section all you want, and if you want to disagree with us with facts and not how you feel, because you could go on, I feel like Gio's a better option, but go with the facts of what we think Pochettino will do. If we do that,
And don't get me wrong, if you think Gio Reyna has a better option, I agree with you. Like even now, even this Gio, I would still bring this Gio over Sebastian Berhalter for several reasons. We
I would
know he
bring
can
him
play.
over Luna or
I'd bring him
Roldan.
over Luna too. But we're not basing this on what we think or want. We're basing this on what we think Pochettino's going to do.
Want me to give you a very nasty question right now?
Yes.
Who would you rather have in the roster, Roldan or Luna?
Ooh.
I know some people are gonna say it's easy, it's Luna. I don't think it's that easy. Like I think the level is not that. Luna's more unpredictable, but Roldan has the whole vibes thing that apparently he's like the nicest guy in the world. And if you look at performances over the last
Pulisic
4 games,
likes sitting next to him on the plane. He makes
yeah,
Pulisic feel cozy. He cuddles
that's
him.
important. That's important. But Roldan actually outperformed Luna the past 4 games.
I don't know about the last 4 games. Definitely in the last one. I would still bring Luna. I think having a wild card like Luna that's kind of unpredictable is a good thing. And personally, I think if that your culture and your team spirit falls apart if Roldan is not there, then you don't have good culture. This is my whole point of like, oh, he brings the culture, he smiles, he brings the eyes and vibes. If you need Seattle Sounders midfielder Christian Roldan to have a good culture in camp, you're doing it wrong. I'm sorry. So I would still bring Luna over Roldan. I think Luna, while he's probably not at the level, neither is Roldan. At least Luna can come up with something unpredictable once in a while. And that could be a wild card at a World Cup.
And
Plus, I want to encourage more Diego Lunas to get chances in American soccer. There's a lot of Diego Lunas out there that probably don't get a shot for whatever reason. Maybe because they don't have the money to pay for training. Maybe because they don't like the look of them. They have tattoos. Maybe they look like a troublemaker. I don't know what it is. But there are a lot of Lunas in this country, I'm sure, probably better players than Luna that never get an opportunity. And I think that could inspire some young players when they see a Diego Luna at a World Cup and be like, oh, like a street baller. That's sort of the vibe you get from Diego Luna. Like that guy you play street soccer with. That's like he might shove you, he might score a wonder goal, he might give the ball away to concede a goal, right? I would like to see more of that in the American soccer landscape. And so I think Diego Luna could be also an inspiration. I know it's a very minor factor, but you know what? So is sitting next to Christian Pulisic on the plane.
it is.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It is.
And guys, just to make it clear, what P was talking about right now, if you don't remember, I asked him who he would prefer for this case. Not that little question was not Pochettino. It was who Pete would
Yeah,
prefer.
that was us.
So we finished the
Let me
midfielders
ask
with
you a
Adam.
nasty question. If Pochettino had to decide between those two, who do you think he brings?
Roll on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Roll on. For sure, I think. That's why I said if Gio somehow lights it up and he has to cut one of these guys, I think Luna will be the odd man out as it stands. Even Brendan, I think, is ahead of Diego Luna right now. Because Luna also, there was a time where the whole like playing with his broken nose and scoring against Guatemala, that people started, the more he played, the more people realized, okay, there was a lot of hype based on like moments and not based on performances. That's what it was.
I will say I don't know if Brendan's ahead of Luna for Poch. I think Poch he played Luna as a starter the whole Gold Cup, and Brendan barely got minutes.
Was Brendan there? Aronson wasn't there. It was
Oh
Paxton.
no, that was Paxton. I'm sorry, that was my bad. That was Paxton. Yeah.
Yeah,
Brendan,
Brendan.
it's hard to say. He doesn't. He's got similar minutes to him in this last camp, right?
Yeah, yeah. Played better though. Center forwards. This one right now, it seems pretty easy. At the same time, I have one question mark on it. I think Balogun and Haji are locks, and we saw at this camp, right? He had Ajiman there, and Haji and Balogun scored. They soaked up all the minutes, so it looks like Haji and Balogun are locks in that sense. Ajiman seems to have fallen off between those two. Sargent is probably done under Pochettino. He's probably behind Ajiman. He might even be behind Brian White,
Yeah.
Sargent, for Pochettino. Again, not me, Pochettino. He didn't even call him up this camp. Without Pepe, he still brought in Ajiman that literally just came back from injury, and Ajiman hasn't been lighting up the EFL Championship, but he still brought Ajiman over Sargent. Now, in my head, Pepe is ahead of Ajiman, no questions asked. Are we 100% sure that Pepe is ahead of Ajiman under Pochettino? Because when I'm going to pull this up while you talk, I know Pepe, there were injury issues because he injured his knee, but is there evidence that Pepe is clearly ahead of Ajiman when it comes to Pochettino?
It's hard to say because Pepe has been injured since the Gold Cup. So he wasn't available for the Gold Cup. He wasn't available for the the September camp, and he wasn't available for the October camp. So the truth is, we have no idea. I would be very surprised, though, if Aguimang is ahead of Pepe in Poch's mind. Because remember, after the September camp, he said, we're going to bring back the first team guys for October. And he specifically name checked Balogun, McKennie, and Pepe. So I do think he sees Pepe as a first team guy for him. I mean, Pepe got us to the Nations League, right? To the Nations League semifinals with that goal against 3 goals against Jamaica, right?
Two. I was gonna add a piece of information to help Ricardo Pepe. Pepe's played 3 games under Pochettino. Panama was his first. He scored. Jamaica, he played the away and home game in the Nations League quarterfinals. He scored in both games. So Pepe
Yeah.
scored every single time he played under Pochettino. After that, he's been injured with the knee
Yeah.
injury, and then he came back and hamstring. So I'm going to put Pepe because I believe the gap between Pepe and Ajiman is so big, even though I think Sargent and Ajiman, there's a gap too. But I think the
Yeah.
gap between Pepe and Ajiman is so big. And Pepe also has delivered for the national team, even under Pochettino. He scored every game that he played. 3 games. Not one game. It's like, oh, he played one. He scored
Yeah.
3 games. Scored all 3. I think ultimately, as long as he's healthy, as long as these 3 are healthy, Haji, Balgan, and Pepe are the locks. And if they're fit, I don't think this will change at all with Pochettino in charge.
I think it will be those 3 as well. Haji, Balogun, Pepe. Haji cemented his place on the plane, in my opinion, in this last camp.
Mm-hmm.
Not just playing well for Coventry, but 2 very good goals, by the way, against Australia. They weren't gimme goals. And some of his Coventry goals, literally, he's 2 yards out from goal with a tap in and an empty net. These goals were not like that. His second goal, especially, was beautiful. Like, yes, he got the ball in the channel, but he had to keep dribbling, cut in onto his weak foot, and curl it into the top corner, right? And even his first goal, yes, he was played in behind, but it was an awkward angle, and he had to, the way he shot it with the outside of his right boot was not easy either.
Now, Pete, if they expand the roster to 30 players, let's quickly pick 4 guys that'll make it. We already put Roldan there, so he's making it regardless. I think if he brings 4 more, I think 2 that are probably going to be there because he seems to love these guys will be Ajiman and Sebastian Berhalter. I think those 2. Now, my question to you is who else? Like, you look at the previous roster.
Probably brings another center back, is my guess.
So maybe Carter Vickers.
Maybe Carter Vickers, maybe Tristan Blackman. One of
Um,
those two.
think Aiden Morris would make it.
Could be. It could like we don't know. It could also be Luca De La Torre or Jack McGlynn. Honestly, he loves Jack McGlynn. Jack McGlynn was in this last roster originally, apparently.
Oh yeah, he got
And
injured, right?
he got injured. Before the roster announcement, he got injured, but apparently, according to Tom Bogert, he was in this roster. He loves Jack McGlynn. I think if it's 30, you're probably looking at Carter Vickers, Jack McGlynn, Agyemang, and Berhalter.
Yeah,
That's my guess.
I would think so. I don't want to think into it too much, think about this one too much, because if they expand it to 30 players, we'll know soon enough. And then in that video, we'll actually build it. But right now, those would be my guesses too of where he would complement this roster. Because every other position, you have more than enough depth. And we talked about this on your video, how it's a little unnecessary to have 30 players. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I just kind of think it's like whatever. I don't think you really need it. But especially for a small tournament like the World Cup, it's not a league. But everyone, don't forget to drop a like in this video if you haven't already. If you didn't drop a like in this video and you watched it for 34 minutes, like, what are you doing? 34 minutes and you can't hit the like button? Like, Pete, thank you very much once again.
Thanks, Tack.